Nazem Kadri is back! Welcome to From Center Ice. My name is Courtney, and once again, I am here to recap the night that was in NHL playoff hockey. Last night, we had Game 4 between the Colorado Avalanche and the Tampa Bay Lightning. It has been a good series so far, with Colorado winning the first 2 games at home, Game 2 being a 7-0 blowout win. Then the series shifted back to Tampa Bay, where the Lightning came out with a 6-2 victory on Monday night in Game 3, and that brought us to Game 4 on Wednesday night. There were a couple of questions heading into this game. After the 6-2 loss and Darcy Kuemper being pulled in the second period, the biggest question would be, who is the starting goaltender for the Colorado Avalanche? Coach Jared Bednar went back to Darcy Kuemper, so he was in the crease to start Game 4. And the other question was, would Nazem Kadri be back in the lineup? He was practicing in a regular jersey, he took warm-ups for the Avs, and then it was confirmed for the first time in 18 days after having thumb surgery, Nazem Kadri was back in the lineup for Colorado. If you haven't been following along, in Game 3 of the Western Conference Final against the Edmonton Oilers, Nazem Kadri got hit into the boards by Evander Kane, and he left the game about a minute into it. We later learned that he had a thumb injury, he had to have surgery on it, so he missed the rest of Game 3, obviously, and he was not in for Game 4. Then he missed the first 3 games of the Stanley Cup Final, and it wasn't really certain whether he would be able to return to the playoffs at all. He certainly seemed determined to get back, but sometimes you just have to listen to your body and it doesn't agree with what your brain wants to do. But this time, even if he wasn't fully 100%, Nazem Kadri was healthy enough, feeling okay enough with that hand to get back into the lineup for Game 4. And as we will see, that was a huge addition to the lineup for Colorado. The final question going into this game is, would the Tampa Bay Lightning tie up the series to send it back to Colorado? Or would the Avalanche take a 3-1 series lead with the chance to close it out at home on Friday night? Last series, in the Eastern Conference Final, when Tampa Bay took on the New York Rangers, the Rangers won the first 2 games at home, much like Colorado did. But when the series shifted back to Tampa Bay, Tampa won both of those games at home, and then they also won the next 2 games. So after losing the first 2 games of the series, they won that series 4-2, which put them in the Stanley Cup Final up against the Avs. Colorado's been a great team all throughout the regular season, of course, but especially in the playoffs. The only 2 games they lost before the Stanley Cup Final was against St. Louis. They swept the first round, they swept the third round, then they suffered that first loss of this final series in Game 3, so if Tampa had tied up this series, who knows what could have happened? Maybe Colorado does come back and win the final 2 that they need in the last 3 games, or maybe Tampa does what they did to the Rangers and they just win out. But let's just go ahead and talk about the goals that happened in this game. 36 seconds into the first period. Yes, 36 seconds into the first period. There is some chaos in Darcy Kuemper's crease. He's laying on his stomach. There's about 20 guys all around him, but the puck pops out to the right wall. Erik Chernak is able to get the puck, and from the top of the right circle, he sends a shot toward the net. It hits Darcy Kuemper up high, which causes his mask to fall off. Of course, he is not able to control that rebound, and Anthony Cirelli is camped out on top of the crease. He is able to get that loose puck, and with Darcy Kuemper diving to his right without a mask on his head like an absolute madman, Cirelli is able to put that puck into the back of the net. 1-0 Tampa. And there were a lot of people angry on the internet after that goal, because usually when you see a goaltender lose their mask, the play is blown dead, so they are able to, protect their head region. But if there is an imminent scoring play, the officials do not have to blow that play dead. And there was. Anthony Cirelli got that puck off of the rebound and was in a shooting position immediately. Even though I understand the anger and the the outrage about that goal being allowed because Darcy Kuemper lost his mask, and that's dangerous to have pucks flying at your face without a mask on. I don't know how goaltenders of old used to do that. Granted, the game was a lot different back then, but still, the officials made the right call there. That is a good goal. It's unfortunate because he lost his mask, but there was nothing on that play that says it should have been blown dead. But if there is not a hockey card of Darcy Kuemper diving to try to stop that puck without a mask on, then Upper Deck is really missing out on a good opportunity there. Because now, in hindsight, knowing that he didn't get hit in the head and didn't get injured on that play, it's kind of a cool visual. Terrifying in the moment, and I never want it to happen again, but it's kind of cool looking back on it now, knowing that he wasn't injured on the play. And it would make for a very cool hockey card. Just saying, Upper Deck. Oh, especially a canvas card. You're welcome for the idea. Anyway, that is the only goal that was scored in the first period. Surprisingly, because the shots on goal were 17-4 in favor of the Tampa Bay Lightning. This is how you know Darcy Kuemper was not injured on that play, because he had to have maybe the period of his lifetime to make sure that they only went into that intermission down by 1 goal. Darcy Kuemper is a very interesting goaltender. He maybe doesn't instill the most confidence in you while you're watching a game. He's a bit chaotic, not Marc-Andre Fleury level of chaotic, or Pavel Francouz level of chaotic, making saves from the face-off dot. But his style of goaltending is very interesting and not calm. So while anxiety-inducing for fans, he came up absolutely huge in that first period. On to the second period. 5 minutes and 17 seconds into the second period, the Colorado Avalanche are on the power play, which is what every team in the NHL hates to hear because they're very good at it. But Andrei Vasilevskiy is very good at goaltending and was making some saves there. Unfortunately for him, the team in front of him was not very good at clearing the puck. So while they are unable to do that, Nathan MacKinnon retrieves the puck on the left boards. He sends the puck over to Mikko Rantanen through the center of the ice to where Mikko is standing in the right circle. As soon as he gets the puck, Mikko puts it on net, and as Nathan MacKinnon is driving to the front of the net, it goes off of his skate, off of Andrei Vasilevskiy's skate, and into the back of the net. Tie game! 1-1. And while it went off of his skate and there was definitely no kicking motion there, I am very glad they chose not to review it for a kicking motion, because we all know that it wasn't there. I think even Tampa Bay fans would admit there was no kick there. But when it comes to what the NHL decides to do and what they decide to rule a kick or not a kick or goalie interference or no goalie interference, it's basically left up to the flip of a coin. And it probably would have taken about 20 minutes to review that to try to find some sort of kick there. I think I am just slightly traumatized after that Calgary goal was disallowed. It was definitely a goal! But anyway, we have a tie game. Until 10 minutes and 42 seconds into the second period, Victor Hedman gets the puck in his own defensive zone at the blue line. He skates it through the middle of the ice, entering the offensive zone right down the middle. He skates a bit over to the right, and from the right face-off dot in the offensive zone, he just sends a backhander toward Darcy Kuemper, and it just goes in past him far side. Now, it may have hit the post and gone in, but either way, it still went past him. 2-1 Tampa. And that goal is just inexcusable. I know that Victor Hedman is a very good hockey player, one of the best defensemen in the NHL, although he did not win the Norris Trophy on Tuesday. That went to Cale Makar. Funny, because they were both up for it and both playing in this series. But even though he didn't win the Norris, he is definitely one of the best defensemen in the league. Maybe this year the second best defenseman in the league, if you do consider Cale the true best and most deserving of the Norris. But that was a backhanded shot, not a Sidney Crosby or Patrick Kane backhanded shot, with no traffic, and it just beat Kuemper. I know I had talked about how great he was in that first period, and he really was solid throughout the entire game for Colorado, but that goal is inexcusable. And 2-1 is how it went into the second intermission. On to the third period. These teams entered the third period with Tampa Bay holding a 2-1 lead. Andrei Vasilevskiy is having a fantastic game. Darcy Kuemper's been pretty good himself, but the Avalanche have to try to solve this guy on the other end of the ice, and it hasn't really been working out for them so well so far. Now, they didn't do themselves any favors by only having 4 shots on goal in the first period, but in the second period, they led the shots on goal 17-9. Significantly better. But 2 minutes and 53 seconds into the third period, Darren Helm takes a shot toward Andrei Vasilevskiy from the top of the right circle. Nico Sturm gets a stick on it, deflecting it down toward the ice. But Andrei Vasilevskiy comes up with a huge left pad stop, but Nico Sturm follows that puck and gets a backhanded whack on it after that save. That puck takes a very friendly Colorado Avalanche bounce, goes off of Andrew Cogliano's leg and past Andrei Vasilevskiy. Tie game. 2-2. And at first, nobody really knew if that was going to be Nico Sturm's goal or if it was going to be Cogliano's goal, and if it was Sturm's, it would have been his first as an Avalanche, and a very big first goal as an Avalanche. As an Avalanche is a very weird thing to say. As an Avalanche player? I don't know, it's one of those team names that's very weird to call somebody. Unfortunately for him, the goal was not credited to him, it was given to Cogliano, but I think he's probably just fine with that, because this game remained tied through the remainder of the third period. So just like in game 1 of this series, it was headed to overtime. Seems like we are either going to have overtime games or blowout games. That's hockey for you. Off to overtime we go. And the Avalanche pretty much dominated that overtime period. When it was all said and done, the shots and goal in overtime were 10-3 in favor of Colorado. But there is only one that really matters. 12 minutes and 2 seconds into overtime, Darcy Kuemper skates up into the slot area to play the puck. He passes it over to Arturi Lehkonen at the left point in the defensive zone. Once he gets the puck, Lehkonen settles it down, skates into the neutral zone, where he sees Nazem Kadri in the middle of the ice at the offensive blue line. He hits him with the pass, and Kadri cuts through Ryan McDonough and Mikhail Sergachev, 2 very good defensemen. He's able to protect the puck and then slides it from his backhand to his forehand, getting it around Sergachev's defensive stick. And then he takes the shot toward Andrei Vasilevskiy's blocker side. And nobody knows what happened next. Vasilevskiy's down on the ice like he's got the puck between his arm and his body, and he made the save. Bowen Byram comes into the zone pointing at the net, celebrating like the puck went in. The whole Colorado team starts celebrating. Ray Ferraro's yelling, "What a play!" And everybody at home is going, "What just happened?" Thank goodness the year is 2022 and we have video replay. Because after Kadri was able to slip that puck from his backhand to his forehand and take the shot, he whipped it underneath Andrei Vasilevskiy's blocker, barely scraping the blocker, and it goes top shelf into the net and gets stuck. It is just hanging out in the net between the net and the back bar. But that means Nazem Kadri scored the overtime game-winning goal on a beautiful play. And the Colorado Avalanche take a 3-1 series lead, and they head back to Colorado for Game 5 on Friday with a chance to close out the entire thing at home. What a game. What a play from Kuemper to Lehkonen to Kadri, and what an individual effort and goal from Nazem Kadri in his first game back in 18 days after getting thumb surgery. He's basically operating with one hand here, and he scores a beautiful overtime game-winning goal to put his team in the position to do something special. You couldn't have written it better than that. And that was a game that could really have gone either way. Colorado took the first period completely off, apparently. They only had 4 shots on goal, and they didn't really look very great. Meanwhile, Tampa had 17 shots on goal, and it looked like they were just gonna run the show all night. But from that second period onward, Colorado really got into the game, started owning portions of the game, and it was pretty back and forth. They were able to tie it up, but then you have that horrible goal that Kuemper allowed on Hedman. They go into the third period with Colorado trailing by a goal, and Andrei Vasilevskiy having an absolutely fantastic game in net for Tampa. But they're able to tie it up once again on a wacky goal, and while not on the power play for the first time since they've gotten to Tampa. And then we get overtime, and what is better than overtime in the Stanley Cup Final? Now, it is very anxiety-inducing, and maybe rather bad for fans and coaches' blood pressure, but what is better? And then you have Nazem Kadri, after everything he has endured during this postseason, including thumb surgery, scoring the game-winning goal. Absolute madness. Just a fantastic game, a fantastic ending to that game. And now they take that momentum into Game 5. But Tampa Bay's not going to go down easy. They're not just going to roll over. I would be very shocked if they had another 7-0 win over Tampa on Friday. The last game is the hardest to win. The 2-time reigning champs are going to be a hard out. Colorado is going to have to come out with the best game they have ever played in Game 5 to get that done. Because we all know Tampa's going to show up. We all know Andrei Vasilevskiy is going to show up. Will Colorado be able to match that at home? We shall see, but it looks to be a very good game. But that's going to be all from me in this video. How did you feel about Game 4? Personally, I am still buzzing from that Kadri goal. I am just so happy for him. And for the team, of course, but I love me some Naz. If you would like to hear more from me or from Center Ice, you can head on over to FromCenterIce.com, where there's links to all the places you can find us over there. If you want to follow along on social media, all of those links are down in the description for you. And subscribe to this channel if you haven't done that yet. Give this video a like, because that would make me so very happy. All of that being said, thank you all so very much for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you, and let's get ready for Game 5 tomorrow night. I will catch y'all in the next video. Bye, guys.